I am. We might as well. I think better
Right?
days ahead for this team.
Better days ahead. 4-13 season last year for the Cardinals. Obviously, it was never going to be a good season with Kyler Murray set to miss a big portion of the year. The defense, with all the holes that it had, the win total for this year is set at 6.5. Some key losses: left tackle DJ Humphries, Hollywood Brown, and Rondell Moore. Some key adds: Jonah Williams moving over to the right tackle for the Cardinals, Justin Jones, Sean Murphy Bunting, Mac Wilson. Not a lot addressed on the defense in my mind here. Not very optimistic on the Cardinals. Reagan, you said they could make the playoffs, but what record did you realistically get them for this?
Yeah,
year?
I have them going 7-10, so I'm taking their win total over. I mean, the biggest reason is you won 4 games last year. Obviously, I believe half was with Kyler. But still, Kyler Murray is way better and a guy that we've seen play at an MVP level. So I have a lot of faith in him. The fact that they went out and got a guy like Marvin Harrison in the first round. They actually had a lot of picks this year. A lot of it is due to the fact that they traded back last year with the Texans. Bet they didn't expect to be picking 27 in the first round when they made that trade. But, they went out and got Darius Robinson out of Missouri, so hopefully he can help with the edge and get some pressure. They got a local kid in Max Melton, the corner out of Rutgers, so hopefully between those two they can have an impact. I was talking about Trey Benson before. He's a guy I'm definitely targeting in Dynasty because while he might not have a big role this year, per se, because James Conner obviously proved last year, like you highlighted, career year, he still has something left in the tank. But I do think Trey Benson will be involved. He's a guy I'd take late in best ball drafts as well, and they'll have a chance James Conner is to get injured / lose his job.
Which he's missed multiple games every year. So
yeah. So Trey Benson's definitely a guy I'm targeting in best ball because even if you get him in a spot start one week, he may end up being one of your top 2 running backs. Dynasty is a must draft. Dude was a big part of the reason Florida State was so good last year, running the ball. But yeah. So I got them going 7-10. I mean, the defense scares me a little bit, but the schedule's kind of middle of the pack to me. And a lot of it goes into Kyler Murray. As long as he stays healthy, I don't see how this team doesn't at least win 7 games.
Yeah, I got them I was going back and forth between 7-10, 6-11. I ultimately settled on 6-11 just because the defense, man. I just don't believe in it. I do believe in Gannon as a coach, so I think he's going to start to get his guys in the room and they're going to figure it out. But there's just too many holes for me. Something that worries me, though, is Kyler signed the extension after his rookie deal, and now those low cap hits after the first 2 years of the extension are non-existent. His cap hit for 2024 is $49 million. For next year, it's $45. The year after, it's $55. So it's going to be more difficult for them to build out this roster around him. They did win 3 games once Kyler returned in week 10, and their offense was humming. So I do like that they did add to the running back room. They had the number 1 rushing offense in terms of yards per carry once Kyler returned, and him himself, even recovering from the knee, wasn't his normal rushing ability. So I think with Kyler well rested off the knee, adding Benson, this run offense is going to be awesome. Also, fantasy in terms of points per game for quarterbacks, Kyler's finished as a QB 12, 5, 4, 9, and 10 over his career in his healthy seasons in per game basis. So I love Kyler for fantasy. Love Marv, but Kyler's got to stay healthy again. Connor's got to stay healthy. We already touched on Trey McBride.
Wait, speaking of Trey McBride real quick, bro, he is a sneaky pick to lead the league in receptions this year.
He had 81 last year.
81 last year, but once he had 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3. Then once Kyler took over, 10, 3, 8, 5, 7, 8, 10, 6, 6, 3. So he had 81 last year, but with all of the production, like more than 75% of the production with Kyler. So
wow, yeah, no, that's
and think about it. Not only Kyler took over, but he also took over the starting job. I mean, he had 5, 6, 10, 12. In the 7 games with Dobbs, he had 12 catches.
Wow.
So 69 catches in the last 10 games.
I mean, that just shows you how high his ceiling could be for tight end. Like tight end 1 is certainly in play.
He could be the tight end 1, bro. He had 69 catches in the last 10 games.
Yeah,
and all of his touchdowns came in the last 10 games. He only had 3, but still, and like all of his yards, he didn't have one game over. His best game was 62 yards. After that, he had multiple over 100 yards. So I'm not trying to cut you off, but I had to say that about Trey McBride.
No, that's a good stat, bud.
The number 1 fantasy tight end, and I think it's worth a sprinkle on him to lead the league in receptions this year.
I wonder what the odds are on that.
Just a sprinkle. Maybe if our tech guy could look that up while we're chit-chatting, that'd be legendary.
That'd be awesome. So, just to wrap up why I only have them winning 6 games. They had the second worst pressure rate last season, only had 33 sacks. They were 29th in ESPN's run stop win rate. They didn't really do a ton to build up that defense. BJ Ojulari had 4 sacks in his rookie season, already out for the year with a knee injury, so they lost some depth. Zaven Collins, another first-round linebacker taken. You know how much I hate that. Transitioned to edge last season, and he was just not good. Buda Baker is like the only legitimate player in this defense, making his 5th straight Pro Bowl last season, but even he didn't want to be there before last season started. So, I mean, their best pass rusher only had 6 sacks, but Dennis Gardeck did have an 18.3% pressure rate, which was 3rd best among edge rushers. So maybe he's a little unlucky, and he gets that sack number closer to double digits this year. I don't know, dude. It's just a very bad defense. I think this team will be a lot of shootouts, so I love their offense for fantasy purposes, but 6 wins is all I got for them this year.
Yeah, and speaking of fantasy, Michael Wilson's another guy that's a sleeper. Definitely target him late for best ball in fantasy leagues because, like Colin just highlighted, the defense is going to be terrible. A lot of shootouts this year. So Michael Wilson's a guy that kind of came on late last year. The Capital, I mean, they spent a 3rd-round pick on him, but stats-wise, I just had it in my notes. Oh, man, I'm terrible with this. But anyway, he's a guy I'd be targeting in fantasy just because he is a number 2 wide receiver there. Obviously, Hollywood's gone. I mean, we've seen Greg Dortch. I'm not really expecting big things out of him.
No,
So
he won't be fantasy relevant.
No, I don't think so at all. So, yeah, Michael Wilson, I mean,
he was good last year, Michael Wilson.
565 yards, 3 touchdowns. So nothing great. But then for a day 3 pick, it's not bad. It's not like we're talking about a day 1 pick here. Or I'm sorry, day 2 pick, round 3 pick. But still, it's not like we're talking about a guy with a lot of capital. It's just a guy with a good situation where I think is worth taking a dart throw in redraft leagues, best ball leagues, and dynasty. Well, in dynasty, he's not on your waivers, but guy I would go and look to acquire for the cheap.
All right, MVP, Reagan, go.
Yeah, it's Kyler Murray. I mean, this team goes as far as he goes. It was pretty clear. They were able to beat some good teams once Kyler came back. The offense was in a way better spot when he was there versus Josh Dobbs. Obviously, that's the reason he got paid the big bucks. He's a guy we've seen play at an MVP level before. The 1st overall pick. Did he make the right decision to play in the NFL? I'd say yes. Pocket says yes, but I guess he could have been a streamer, been playing MLB. But yeah, he's my MVP.
I agree. X Factor.
So there's a couple different options you could go here, but I'm going to go with Trey McBride. He's my X Factor. If he can continue on from last year, build off of it, be a 100-catch guy, over 1,000 yards, be Kyler Murray's top target, where I think Marvin Harrison will probably have more yards, but I think McBride will be more of the safety blanket. It could be huge for this offense.
Yeah, I like that approach. I went with Kyler as the X Factor and MVP. For me, he's struggled with injuries every year in his career. He's not a big guy. Usually around November, December hits, and he's dealing with something in his lower half. And it just really affects their offense as a whole. And they can't afford that this year, given the state of their defense. So Kyler Murray staying healthy, becoming more of a leader for a young team is the X factor for me. Rookie of the year, I got Marv. I mean, one of the best wide receiver prospects in recent memory. They have a couple guys that should be seeing immediate playing time in Darius Robinson, Max Melton, Trey Benson, maybe not, but Elijah Jones, a corner they took out of BC, was also really good. So they could have 4 guys starting on this team, but I think Marv is the shoo-in for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I could go with Marv. I'm just going to go a little cheeky here. I'm going to go with Darius Robinson, just the fact that this team lacks edge help. So if he can step in and be, I don't know, put up 8, 9 sacks, maybe even push the double-digit mark, that'll be huge for this defense that lacks a lot of talent. So I think there's so much more potential for him to make a bigger impact year 1. Whether or not he's the better player long-term, it's just this defense lacks talent, so they'll take what they can get. And a 10 sacks from him could be huge and the difference maker in a lot of these games.
Absolutely. Depoy, Buda Baker, 5 straight Pro Bowls, a team that lacks a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you could make a case for anyone else.
Yeah, you really can't. You really can't.
No, I'm not. I'm not even gonna bother. Not even gonna try to bother.
Drox Locks, what we got? You're muted again, buddy. Jesus, figure it out.
Sorry, gentlemen. Been ripping ass
leave
the
and
whole
come back
fucking time.
in. Leave and come back in. Leave and come back in.
All right, fine. I'll leave.
Yeah, what the hell was that, dude? Just embarrassing himself.
Boo! I'm
there we go.
Hideous.
Oh, there's a trade.
I have Marvin Harrison Jr. to score 12 plus receiving touchdowns at plus 1,000. Yes.
Ooh, I like that one. I mean, he did it back-to-back years in college in a very crowded offense, and that was with C.J. Stroud and then without C.J. Stroud for a quarterback that got shipped off to Syracuse because he wasn't even going to start this year. So he is a phenomenal downfield threat. It's a team that desperately needs someone to catch the football. So I like that at plus 1,000.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a lot. I think this offense will be one of the top 10s in points per game, but the defense will be bottom 5. So, like you highlighted earlier, a lot of points. I think there's going to be a lot of garbage time potential where you might get her 1 or 2 by the end of the year. It's fourth quarter, they're down 20 points, and Marvin Harrison catches a garbage time touchdown, and Scott Hansen cuts to it because it's a fantasy stream on Red Zone, and sure enough. So I like it, Drock.